as I am joined by my next guest, Louisa Pateman, who's joining me on Friday Neon this morning to talk about her book, Single Again, Again and Again, which I do have a copy to give away right now. With the rate of suicide, which is serious I'm talking seriously now, with the rate of suicide are high at this time of the year, being Valentine's Day, which is coming up soon, where loneliness is attributed to the rate of suicides. And this book also reflects on Louisa's life as finding that ideal relationship, which is her and Louisa. And also, I want to say hello to I've got on this in the studio as well as Aldwyn, who is here to talk about the book. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, what a wild wind we're going through this morning, getting everything all together. But thank you so much for the book.
You're welcome.
Now, Louisa, you found yourself before you wrote this book, and you wrote the book because you found yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So basically, I did find myself, and I found a different life journey. So so basically, I spent 20 years chasing my happily ever after, as pretty much most people do, because it's so ingrained in us, from society, from religion, from our parents. Every love story, in Hollywood, the girl always gets the guy, and so we're led to believe that that's what equals success. And so for 20 years, I chased that dream unsuccessfully. And after a dozen failed relationships, I call myself the failed relationship expert, I found myself in my late 30s, 37, and basically wanting to have a child, but having a biological clock that was about to explode.
Because you did IVF, is that right?
Yeah, so actually I did IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. It's about as natural as you can get with a 10-foot needle. No, not quite.
Okay. My mind went, 10. Okay, that must be. Anyway, let's move on from there.
Let's move on.
But this is, one of these things, like you said, it's embedded, it's a religious thing. It's like if you, and I got that from my parents, it's like, I'm not married, there must be something wrong with me.
Yes,
am I gay?
exactly.
Or
Yes.
something like that, and I hear a child, I'm like, that's the best contraception ever, and I don't want children if I hear a child screaming.
Yes.
But that's for me,
Yeah, and look, in all honesty, I felt the same before I had my own, but I think that's natural. And, it's not for everyone. And I guess at the end of the day, for me, I spent 20 years chasing my happily ever after, and the irony of that is I went down the path of becoming a single mother by choice, so going to the fertility specialist, and the irony is that I am the happiest I've ever been as a single mother, so I'm single now, and I learnt to find happiness in a different path. We're so ingrained to think that the goal is to get married, when in fact, or to find a partner, when the goal should be happiness in whatever form that takes. So whether that's being single or
because if you have a partner, that's to complement your life, and you still be an individual. It's not you want to live in each other's pockets. We all are natural instinct, hardwired human creature.
Exactly. The desires don't go away, but it's finding that happiness within, and it's accepting where you're at. So at the end of the day, you are where you're at, and if you need to find happiness where you're at, and that may be single, it may be in a relationship, and that's both of them are perfectly fine.
So you can do both. I want to look at I don't know if you looked into the polygamy of things, because that is one of those choices that people make because of the fact they love that person, but also there's humans. Do you think humans are more inclined for multiple rather than the single because of our biology?
It's a very good question. It's something that I have actually had to question myself, and I've come to the resolution that there are some people out there where one person forever works for them, and that's great. All to that. For me, I've had multiple relationships, and for me, I wouldn't give that up, so I wouldn't go back and only choose one, because my many relationships have actually allowed me to have fantastic and rewarding life experiences. I've travelled the world. I've been to over 70 countries. I've had a great career, and all of that is because I found myself single at moments in time where I was able to embrace that being single, and I was able to use that as a trajectory to go, okay, well, let me do something different and something different. And so I evolved as a person by having multiple partners and learning something from each of them. And I evolved as a person by having those opportunities as a single person to use that as a stepping stone to go, okay, what can I do now that's different?
But discussed also in regards to Valentine's Day, which, you know, to me is like, but it's a high set of rates of suicide rates.
Yeah,
and have you been in that position before yourself for bringing this out, to pointing this out?
Yeah, look, in all honesty, I've actually had 2 suicides in my family, so that's something that's very close to my heart. And you know, loneliness is certainly something that can really get to you. And yeah, it's incredibly difficult. It's all about mindset, you know, and things like Valentine's Day are quite difficult when you are single, because it does remind you of what you don't have. And it can be difficult to change that mindset. It takes an enormous amount of focus to really go inside yourself and say, well, okay, I need to be present and I need to be happy with where I'm at, and accept that it's transient. You know, change is inevitable, and whether that be change of your situation or change of your emotions, where you are is where you are, but it doesn't necessarily always, it's not always going to necessarily be that way. And so it's trying to find the optimism for, you know, what's out there that you don't know yet.
I want to ask you too, Aldrin, who is in studio. Your role is, I guess, a publicist for Louisa.
Yes. Well done.
You can relate to this too?
Oh, absolutely. I'm one of these perennially single people. You know,
is this how you... what she's written, is this how you two...
Well, it's interesting because we were actually on a trip to Hawaii years ago, and Louisa thought of someone to help market the book, and she thought, well, who would be better? Someone like Aldrin, who's never married or had any kids at 47 and has been in and out of relationships for years. And it's interesting you mention about, you know, is it natural for people to be monogamous? You know, if you look at the animal kingdom, not many animals stay together for life, right? And there's actually been studies done to say that with humans, that it's natural for human beings to be monogamous with one partner for 8 years, and it extends 4 years per child they have. And if you look at how long a lot of marriages and relationships stay together, if they have 2 kids, it's usually 16 years, 3 kids, 20 years, which seems to be the way things go now. Not to say that it has to go that way, because my parents have actually been together 51 years this year, and there are people that stay together that can choose to do that.
My parents 60 years.
Right. So they can choose to do that. You know, people can choose to do that, but it takes something, and it takes 2 to tango, and it takes open communication and compromise. And you know, nowadays with the whole online dating thing that's happening, you know, it's the swipe left, swipe right, you know, people, it's just so easy now to just find another partner, and people often think, you know, the grass is greener on the other side, and that people in relationships are actually happy when a lot of them aren't, and a lot of them are cheating on their partners, but they're playing happy families for the sake of the kids or for the, you know, for the family at large. So I think a lot of people are actually pretending to be happily in relationships when they're actually not. And that's what we're saying here, is it's really essential that people find that happiness within themselves, and that they communicate openly with those that they're in a relationship with, so that they can, you know, make sure they're moving forward on the same path. Otherwise, people do grow apart, you know. And my situation, longest relationship I've had is 7 years. So they talk about the 7-year itch, right? It's been quite a journey, I must say. And I wouldn't take anything back. As much as I've been looking for the one, I really have to question, you know, who is this one? Like, I think you have to be the one for yourself before you can bring that
attracts that person, but I think there can be that trap also because of who you are. They could suck off you as well. I mean, there's got to be an equal balance, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. 2 full people coming together rather than one leaning on the other, which is where you see a whole lot of jealousy. When people are insecure, they bring that jealousy, where are you, what are you doing, all that kind of thing. And one of the biggest values for people nowadays is freedom, right? And a lot of people feel really trapped in relationships. Not to say it has to go that way, of course, and I'm sure there's a lot of really happy couples out there too, and it'd be great to hear from them as to, you know, what are some of their secrets to having a happy relationship. But the fact is, if you are single, it's important to get that you're not alone if you are single, and that it can actually lead to depression, particularly around Valentine's Day, when people see all these happy families and happy couples, and, you know, like Christmas, right? At Christmas time, a lot of people also have depression and get suicidal if they're not with their family. So at this time with Valentine's Day, it's important to get it's okay to be single and find ways to love yourself. And, you know, this is something close to my heart too, because I've had depression over the years. I've had 4 friends take their own lives by the age of 45, and the stats are about 1 million people a year worldwide take their own lives. And we've seen now with COVID that number has gone up. And it's important that while there's so much mass media that is negative, there's also a whole lot of great things happening out there and a lot of people that are doing so much to help the community at this time. And there's so much we can be grateful for regardless of the things out there that we can't control in the world.
We're going to go to a track now. In the studio, I'm joined by my guests. We have Louisa Pateman, who's the author of Single Again, Again and Again. And if you want to get the book, 32521455, I've still got a copy to give away. And also her publicist, Aldwin Altooni, who's joining me this morning. We're going to play a track right now. Okay, here we go. This is Single Bed. You probably know this track on Friday Neon. This is Fox on Friday Neon. 477 102.1 FM.
Come inside. Oh, I've been expecting you here tonight. Shoes, shake them off while I go and turn the music down soft. Oh, but all I got is a single bed. There ain't no room for your sweet head. Now ain't it a shame you missed the last train? 'Cause all I got is a single bed. It's a single bed. It's a single bed. There ain't no room for your sweet head. It's a single bed. It's a single bed. I got a one solitary, lonesome, single bed. Papa, I got wine, and we could explore each other's minds. Time, don't it fly? And the pleasures of night are reaching so high. Oh, but all I got is a single bed. There ain't no room for your sweet head. Now ain't it a shame you missed the last train? 'Cause all I got is a single bed. It's a single bed. It's a single bed. There ain't no room for your sweet head. It's a single bed. It's a single bed. I got a one solitary, lonesome, single bed.
On Friday Neon on 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. I'm Quentin Ellison, and I'm just going to play down a bit of this there for you. Single Bed, Fox. And in the studio, I'm joined by my special guest here in the studio to talk about the new book called Single Again, Again and Again. I am joined by Aldwin Altooni, who's the publicist for my really, really special guest, Louisa Pateman. And just a quick question, because we only got a couple of minutes. How did you find yourself?
Yeah, look, I actually did a lot of mindset work. So I did a lot of self-development, and I am so lucky that I've done that. So one of the biggest things for me was when I learnt that beliefs are a choice. Right, so for so long I just followed everyone's advice, thinking that what they said was the way to go because they must know better. At the end of the day, they're my elders. But when I suddenly learned that, well, I don't have to believe what they believe. I don't have to follow that same journey. And once I realised that beliefs were a choice, I could start choosing my own beliefs and what serves me. You know, I don't choose to believe that being in a relationship is better anymore, you know, because I look at my friends' relationships and a lot of them are unhappy, you know, and I choose to believe that they would rather be in my shoes, you know, and that puts me in a good place. If I choose to believe that, that's a great thing to believe.
Yeah. And that's happiness is to what your happiness is more important to you than anyone else thinking how you think.
And exactly, and no one's walking your path, no one's walking in your shoes, so why would other people's journeys be the same as yours? Why should they be the same? You know, it's your journey and it's your own unique journey, and
On that note, thank you very much, Louisa, for joining me, and also Aldrin for joining us on Friday Neon. And the book's called Single Again, and Again.